Us? No.
Do we go down the cheesy route and say we're talking about the pressing issues?
Yeah. I'll just say welcome to PPD Live.
Recording.
Hi and welcome to PPD Live. My name's Dennis and this is...
I'm Jamie.
And can everybody introduce themselves? Let's start from this side.
Yeah, I'm Lewis.
Hi, I'm Ben.
Hi, I'm Somalia.
Yo, Mono.
I'm Ronan.
I'm Tori. Sup, I'm Izzy.
I'm Stan.
I'm Maddie.
Hi, okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to go straight into the questions, guys. I hope you're all warmed up and ready to discuss some of the main topics of the day. So the first question is this one. Is being part of the LGBTQ community fashionable, anti-establishment, or is it a base for all people who need it?
I kind of think that sometimes some people use it as a fashion statement, because I feel like I've met a few people in like being a teenager and stuff who just see it as, okay, this is my chance to kind of like stand out a bit, and then they kind of just abuse it. But for a lot of people, it is actually a genuine thing. Like, yeah.
Yeah, there's when you were saying it's like a fashion statement, I was just going to say there is like a sort of actual term for that. It's called trans trending, and it just kind of means that now, like, you know, it's kind of seen as, you know, cool and edgy to be transgender, so people just go along with it and say they are. Some people.
Do you mind if I go first? Thank you. Very polite here on this panel. I completely believe that the LGBT community should just be another community. It shouldn't make anyone better or worse. It's just another community, such as, I don't know, Game of Thrones fans. In that community, you can talk about the issues that you present, and it shouldn't discriminate you from anyone else. It should just be a safe place where you can talk to other people. And I'm just going to talk about the event Pride for a little bit. Pride, I believe, is a celebration of how far LGBT people have come throughout history. And there's a big debate about whether straight people should be allowed there. And I'm completely in favour of that, because I believe that if we sort of force out a sexuality or a way of thinking, then that completely goes against what all the work, all the effort, all the protests, rebellions, all of that is for. And so this the LGBT community is incredibly important for people who identify in the wide spectrum of genders, sexuality, so on. But we should definitely, but it should be celebrated how far everything has come.
Okay.
I think reducing the LGBTQA community as a fashionable group completely undermines the years of persecution and trans women just fighting for the chance to actually be themselves without persecution. And like the fashionable side of it, it's just people like just being themselves. Like the rise in LGBTQA kids might just be the fact that there are more than we thought, because people from about 50 years ago like just couldn't come out. Like it might not just be a fashionable thing, and why is that a bad thing anyway? Like why can't it be like, look at these people, let's let them be cool, let them have their moment for a little bit, because they've just undergone just years of horribleness.
I do personally agree with that. There's like, it's there's a lot of people who are just saying, oh, it's just a fashionable thing what they're doing, when really it is generally them wanting to be fit in somewhere and be treated properly. But there are a few, like this is a very small amount, but there are some people who say, oh, no, I'm this, so that they can seem more interesting or more exciting or whatever. I don't know how to describe it. But, and I know, like, personally that they're not. And they just do this as like a fashion statement. That's kind of what causes such the doubt among, like, saying parents who personally think, oh, my kid's just doing this as a fashion choice. That's what actually causes a lot of hurt for a lot of people, because these small people are kind of cast as everyone trying to be fashionable when it's only a small amount, and that causes a lot of people a lot of pain.
I'm just continuing off of what Ben said. It's a community now, and it's all evolved into a community. And when there's a new community, there's always bandwagon hoppers. Lots of people hop the bandwagon, lots of people join in, and sometimes things flourish from that. It isn't always bad, even if other people think it's bad or they don't fully understand what they're there for. It doesn't matter, because there's more people there, there's more people celebrating it, there's more people understanding it, and there's more people that just want to push the cause.
No, yeah, I agree with you. Like, why can't young people go through phases anyway. They're just finding out who they are. Like, why can't sexuality be part of that? Like, they can flip-flop through sexualities. That's fine. They're not hurting anybody. Like, they're just trying to figure out where they fit in a community. And that just, if that changes, then that's okay. Like, I've flip-flopped through myself, like, and I've kind of worked out where I fit, and that's helped me develop as a person. So yeah, I think it's okay. That's you.
Yeah, I'm good. Once again, I might as well just not even bother holding the mic, because everything I wanted to say has been said.
I'll just add that my 93-year-old great uncle came out as gay to my granddad, who's his brother. He did pass recently, but just the fact that he's had to live with that his entire life, and only in the past 2-3 years has he actually come to terms with it and sort of been out in the open. It just shows how needed the actual community of it, and how accepting and celebrating can go such a long way to this equal society that we're all striving for.
Okay, is the LGBTQ community as liberal as it makes out to be with regards to sex, race, and class?
I don't believe that the LGBT community should have a political sort of criteria to get in. It should be all inclusive to people of all beliefs, of all social classes. It shouldn't be just, oh, you should be a white atheist white atheist Republican or conservative in order to get in to our cool little gang. It should be everyone who believes that they need, or maybe doesn't believe yet that they need that community. It should be open to everyone who identifies with those.
Would we argue at this point, is it open to everyone? Or are there restrictions or biases anywhere within it?
Definitely. Like, you have bisexual people, and they're not accepted sometimes by both gay people and straight people, because it's like, you're not gay enough, you're not straight enough, you can't make up your mind, blah, 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 blah. There is a lot of like stigma against that, and there's like for asexual people, it's like kind of, oh, you're just heterosexual, but you just want to be part of a group. There's a lot of stigma between that needs to be worked out in the community.
Okay.
I would agree with that. There is a lot of like stigma between different groups in that whole community. One thing, like, I know it's a bit idealistic, but I think in the coming years it will become a lot more equal and kind of free for all. I don't know if that's even the correct phrase. Stay with me on this. I think it should all like work out that way, because to be honest, people in that group have all, I'm not like generalizing, but most of them will know someone who's gone through hard times because of who they are, or will have gone through hard times because of who they are. And it's something that regardless of like who you are, you can sympathize and empathize with each other, because you know you've both, all of you have been through hard times just because of who you want to be and who you feel that you actually are. So I think that should come in a few years, but currently like there's a lot of people just like are afraid to join that community, or get a lot of hate for being in that community. Like, I know it's like, it's obviously, it's just scientific fact. There's going to be like 50, some people who are a part of that group will be black, or some people a part of that group will be white. But it's kind of seems overwhelmingly white, and there's a lot of stigma for black people or people from other ethnicities to join that group. And I think there should be more of a movement or a push to make it equal, because it's not always going to be the same numbers, but it needs to be made more okay for them to want to be in that community and in that group.
I completely agree with everything that's been said, and you know, there is still a lot of stigma, particularly like you were saying, against bisexual people. Because I used to know someone who, and I remember a direct quote that she said. She was it was weird because she claimed to be very, like, you know, open-minded and free-spirited, and people can do what they like. But then a direct quote from her was, bisexual people are just gay people who can't admit the truth. And it's kind of like, well, no, because if you're going to claim to be so open-minded and free-spirited, then you're just excluding a group of people there, and that's not really the right way to go about things. So, yeah.
And I feel it is open to people who just don't label themselves as well. They can be part of the LGBT plus community. That's why the plus is there, because it's an endless stream of sexualities, genders, so on. And it should just be people who don't give themselves a specific label shouldn't be excluded just because that they feel what they feel. There's no way around that, and that should be celebrated as much as a man who identifies as gay is celebrated for being gay.
Okay, thank you for that. We're going to take a short break here and come back soon.
Vintage clothing shop that sells hand-picked goods that are sourced from around the world. Stocking winter wear, shoes, tops, hoodies, trousers, bags, jewellery, all from different eras. With 2 floors, there's a lot of choice for everyone to enjoy. Check Cow out in Nottingham's alternative quarter, Hockley Square, 3 Colton Street, Nottingham, NG1 1NL.
Okay, so welcome back, folks. We are going to move this forward, okay, and we're going to get onto the topic of race. Okay, so first question I'm going to put towards you guys, okay? Can society say it is post-racism, or are we being short-sighted? What do we think? This side. Let's start this side first, then we'll bring it over to this side.
I don't think it's right to say we're past racism.
Post-pass, yeah.
But because like people are still being told, well, if you're this skin color, then you must be a terrorist, or if you're like this, then well, why wouldn't you commit crime? Like when there's thousands of black people in America being stopped for checks for no other reason than their skin color, because now for some reason their skin color is seen as with people with that skin color have a criminal mindset. I just don't think we're past it. It's very easy to say that we're past it, but I mean, we have gone very far. We've gone very, very far, but I still there's way more we need to go, because you can't just say, oh, we're past this bit where we hated more than 80% of the population of this world. Like, it's just not a thing.
Well, if you think about it, definitely not, because, for example, we're in the East Midlands, right? And apparently that's like the worst kind of part of England for like racist groups like EDL and like neo-Nazis and that kind of thing. And it really is horrible, but it's just like they can't say it's post-racism, to be honest.
But why do we think it's? So you're saying that it's you know it's confined mostly. Well, it's worse in the East Midlands or the Midlands itself. So why do we think that might be? I mean,
probably because the Midlands of like, I think it's also like the least diverse place. Like it's like inland. It's like there's a lot of like I don't really know. There's a lot of rural areas where it's like quite far out and it's not very diverse. Like for example, like the entire Peak District. Like I live there like some of the time, and everybody is white and everybody's middle class, and it's a case of there's that, and a lot of the kids who are in the schools there, they're never going to meet anybody of a different culture or a different race before they go to secondary school. And then in fact when I went to primary school, like everybody was white, and then I went to an inner city secondary school, and like it was the first time I'd ever really met anybody who wasn't white, who was my age. So it's kind of a thing where kids aren't being shown a diverse range of people, so they don't, like some of them are growing up with like really bad prejudices, really.
Okay, interesting.
I think that we're probably the whole thing with race is why, like racism is why it's still here. It's because people are ignorant and they don't want to change their mind about set things. And I think, like say like Donald Trump, like he's so, I don't know why, but like he's just ignorant. Like he can't see that there's so much change in the world and so many different people add to like the world, if you get what I'm saying. Like there's so many other cultures around, and he's just focusing on, you've got to be white, you got to do this, you got to do that, when all these other cultures add to like America and make America what it is. Because you get what I mean? Like, without all these other cultures, America would be dead. Like, like so many other cultures make it what it is. I feel like if you're just gonna have the same basic mindset, like we're just gonna stay in the same lane, nothing's gonna get better.
Okay.
Interesting.
On setting on one mindset, I remember when I first came to England, it was so different. Because in Poland, there wasn't really that much.
Diversity?
Yeah, on the streets and in schools, everyone in my primary and school and secondary, no, wait, that's still primary, never mind, was white. And when I first came to England, I was like, wow, like what's happening? Where am I? I was really like, and just has to change. In Poland, still, it's not changing. That's one of the problems, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it does come back to prejudice and what people have in their minds. What you were saying about police in America. I read a post on the internet. So this is true. It said that the first thing that you think when you see someone is what that you're sort of conditioned to think, what growing up you have been conditioned to think. Your second thought is what you personally think. And if walk down the street after this and just think about what you look at them. He's like, let's see you don't know me at all. You see me walking down the street, you think, oh, he's a massive brute, he's aggressive, he's scary, and then I open my mouth and then you just realise I'm a soft little ginger boy. So
My exact first thoughts when seeing you.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, so what you were saying, Mr. Donald he's saying a lot of things about a lot of people which really the most powerful person in the world shouldn't. Can I do a little impression? No. My fellow Americans, I believe that no.
Okay, yes.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's all right, man.
But let's bring it back. Let's bring it back to this. Okay. A lot of young people would say that they don't believe in racism or in any kind of ism, but when we check the facts, there's still disparities that exist between different groups. So why is this the case? I mean, is it young people? Is it older people? Is it because of the system? Is it policy? Is it practice? Is it economics? Why are we saying that racism still exists?
Personally, this is like my personal view, but one thing that is never going to help is shunning racists. I know it's sounding weird, but stay with me on this. If you shun racists, they're just going to think, oh, they're just like all the other people who are with those evil black people. The thing is, just racism doesn't stand up well to contact. So if I'm racist and then I'm also friends with a black person, like I'm gonna realize they're not all the same. None of them are really like that. Instead of shunning them, I'm not saying like put them in institutions or anything. I'm just saying like talk to them, see why they have these views and challenge them. Don't oppose them with only like, oh no, you're wrong. It's like, no, this is why you're wrong. And then they'll realize soon their argument will fall apart and they'll have nothing else to do except the truth, which is everyone is their own person. They don't have a personality because of their skin color.
I think it leads into reading books by their cover. Humans like to take the easy way out when they do things because it's the easy way. It's the mode of least resistance. And that's fine, but you can't do that with people because people have lots of variety. Like a book, like a library full of books, you can't just look at them, read what they are, and then be like, well, yeah, they're like that, so they must be like that. Because you have to find the more in-depth, like you have to judge them properly. If you judge them incorrectly, then it just fuels the issue.
Okay.
That just got deep. No, what Dennis was saying about like how a lot of younger people were saying, what did you say? That a lot of younger people say that they're not racist.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, that is the case because our generation specifically has grown up with technology and such a huge social media platform that we see everything. We see different sexualities, we see different nationalities, we see everything, and we're very open to it. But racism, in my opinion, still is a big thing because older generations raising us how they believe. There's nothing against them. If that's what they believe, that's what they believe. But they might raise their children or family friends, kids, just like their thoughts. And then if young children are very impressionable, is that the word?
Mm-hmm.
They're very impressionable. So if someone older than them is saying this is how it is, then they'll grow up believing that, and it wouldn't be until they get to maybe when they get to teenagers that they realize, oh wait, that's not right, that's not okay. Everything I've thought for 17, 18 years is completely rubbish. So it doesn't exist, in my opinion, in the younger community. If it's the older community, then yeah, it still exists majorly. And then if that older community is passing it down to the younger community through talking or family dinners or et cetera, then that's where the racism still lives. That's where it thrives, because it's just getting passed on from one to another.
Okay, cool. I feel like the reason why young people are still like kind of so racist is because, well, not they are racist, but it is still a bar, is because like we discriminate like kind of against ourselves, if you get what I mean. Like I feel like now in this day and age, you're kind of not seen as like relevant if you're not like light skinned, and like if like say like you're a black person, yeah, and you act in a certain way, you get called like a coconut. They say, oh, you're acting white, but that kind of like defeats the object of things, because it's like, how would a black person act then? If they're like well spoken, they say, oh, you're acting white. But if they like use a lot of slang, like, oh yeah, you're blessed. I feel like we're kind of going around in a circle, and the way things are like perceived, it's all a bit weird. Like I feel like it's just all a bit weird.
But what you were mentioning are like politics within the black community, and they're not politics that are kind of shared with black and white communities. A lot of white communities haven't got there to understand some of those things that you're talking about. So when people generally talk about racism, they're talking about the relationship between black and white people and that interrelationship. They're not actually talking about the internal problems that happen within black communities or non-white communities. So within non-white communities, we talk about things like complexion, hair type, how you speak, if you relate more to one ethnic group to another ethnic group. Things like that are issues, you know, that are caused through racism, you know, that bother in individual communities. And the black-white issue hasn't come to that yet. It hasn't. So when we're thinking about racism, it's very peripheral at the moment. So, you know, really, are we being short-sighted, or, you know, are we coming past racism?
I was just going to say, you're telling a black person, oh, you're acting so white. That doesn't happen. So, oh, Lewis, you're acting so black. That doesn't, it doesn't have the same sort of like
connotation.
Exactly. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not as social. It shouldn't be in society at all telling someone you're acting like the stereotype of a certain race. But yeah,
It's not as oblivious.
no. So, all in all, racism is bad. End it now.
Tori, did you have?
I was gonna kind of say, like, I don't think it's a case of like any generation particularly being racist. I think it's more of the fact that because like the older generations, like for example, like pretty much like my grandparents, for example, like when they grew up, like pretty much everybody was white. So they've kind of grown up to be scared of anything that's different. So that's caused them to have that. But I don't think that means that the younger generations are going to grow up to be racist. I feel like that kind of guarantees that the younger generations are obviously going to have like prejudice against people, but they're not going to be.
All right, we're going to have to go into another break now. So we'll continue this discussion after the break. Thank you. You finished? Okay, is that it? Oh, it's 22. Is it done?
Thanks for watching.
Thank you. All right, give yourself a round of applause, folks. That was good.
So no one told you that racism would be this way. Dennis is a joke. He's a bloke.
Right.
And his beard is kind of grey.
Yeah. Oh. That was a bit of a soft ending, wasn't it?
It was.
It was. I think it was more.
What were you expecting a hard end?